All right, we got one more minute and we'll get started. If anybody wants to chat why you're here. So I know some faculty are offering extra credit to be a part of, come to the Professional Development Series workshops, or if you're just got an email from me and are interested in learning more about networking. I am curious why you're all here.
Well, I'm a transfer student and I was a little late to networking and I'm trying to learn more about it.
Awesome. That's Nathan?
Yeah.
Hey, Nathan. Thanks for being here today. It's great.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so we got some more chats. Interested in learning more. Got the email. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are reading your emails. This is good. Sometimes we send them out into the great abyss and we're not sure if you're all getting them or not. So glad that these are of interest to you. All right, well, we are officially at 5 o'clock and I want to be really cognizant of everyone's time because I know you guys are probably spending a good amount of time on the computer as it is this semester. So welcome to the Professional Development Series for Networking Skills and Online Etiquette. My name is Amy Odom and I'm a career coach in Business Career Services. I'm one of 3 coaches that, depending on your major, you can meet with to talk about a variety of career and professional development skills. So if you are somewhere in your process of trying to identify what type of professional opportunity you're interested in, if you are in the resume building step, maybe you're thinking about preparing for an interview or that application process, our team can help you every step along the way. So we do that with individual coaching, but then of course we do some group interactions like this, some workshops that you can attend with other people to learn about these particular topics. So today we're going to dive into networking skills. And if you weren't here in the very beginning, if you have questions, feel free to put those in the chat throughout the presentation. And if I can see them and address them in the moment, I will. If not, then we'll save those for the end and try to address all those questions. I'd love for you to be a part of the conversation and make this as proactive as possible. Also understanding that we're in a Zoom room and, you know, it's awkward. So we'll try to make it not awkward for everyone and hopefully you get something out of this. So that was a little bit about me and about the career services area. A couple of things that we're going to talk about today is why networking is important, especially in a virtual recruitment environment. We all are very aware that our networking is going to be limited to what we can do digitally this semester because we can't have employers on campus to meet with you in person. Personally, for me, that's my element. I love being in front of people and connecting with them. And so this was a struggle for me too, to figure out how can I help get you all ready to do that digitally. So that's where we're going to be focusing on today. We'll talk about the different types of networking and then creative ways to follow up and follow through. Ways that will set you apart from other candidates. So again, since they're not going to be here in person, what can we do on our end to really differentiate ourselves from other people? And then we'll end really quickly with some online etiquette, or now there's a new weird word out there. You know, with each new strange thing that happens, we get these odd new words. It's called Netiquette. Okay, so it's your etiquette on the net. All right, so some pointers and things that we can take away before we leave tonight. So everybody ready to get started? Awesome. Move forward with my screen. There we go. All right, so 70 to 80% of jobs are secured through networking. That's a really large percentage. And if Ron Burgundy says it, then it must be true, right? So a lot of what happens on the job scene takes place in this kind of networking area. And I want to share a personal story about how effective networking has positively impacted me throughout my career. And I've done a lot of different things. So I graduated from App State 18 years ago. So there you go. You all do the math, figure it out. And then my last year of threes, or the 30s. So I graduated 18 years ago. I've had a total of 5 different careers over that time. And I earned a degree from App State in ceramics and painting. So if you're scratching your head of how and why are you in career coaching in higher education if you have a painting degree, well, that's a really good question. But I am what a lot of career coaches would call, I followed a career chaos theory, meaning that there was absolutely nothing linear about my career path. I have been all over the place, and hopefully that brings you some comfort. If you're worried about having to do the same thing for the rest of your life, or trying to figure out how you're going to get from point A to point B, if it's not linear, that's okay. The world is going to take you to some different places. So I earned that degree, and my first job was in management, and I managed a bookstore in Blowing Rock. And I did that, and then I was a a customer service representative in Charlotte for the 5th largest uniform rental service in the US. And I managed 750 accounts, and it was the worst job I've ever had in my life. But helpful. I've worked in hospitality and events and coordinated large corporate and wedding events. I have done marketing on a large scale, helping market land launches for a large real estate and development company, and then ended in higher education back at Appalachian State University, because ultimately I had a really amazing experience at App, and I wanted to give that back and pay it forward to others in higher ed, and ended up in that career services area. So a little sporadic. I've done a little bit of a lot of different things, but I really tell that story just to drive home the point of each of those careers that I had access to through networking, because those are all very different careers. And so I developed relationships with people. They saw my value and the skill set that I brought to the table, and we helped make those connections in what they had and what I could contribute. And so networking was a huge, huge part of my story. Of course, we go through these kind of the steps that you have to take to apply for these things, but what are all those little tiny steps in between the applications, right? And those are the people, those are the relationships. And so that's the biggest part of networking. So being a strong networker for all of you is more important now than it ever has been before, because we don't have the ability to meet people in person due to social distancing. So now employers can't travel. Again, how are we going to learn how to network digitally? So a little bit about my background. So let's talk about some different types of networking. All right, so there are 3 main types or ways that we can network with people. And the first one is referrals. That's meeting people through other people, right? For students, your best contacts for referrals are going to be your professors, staff members in the college, your friendly career services professionals, right? So the career coaches make it our mission to develop relationships with recruiters. I know the recruiters, children's name. I know their dog's name. I know where they're vacationing. Like, I'm good friends with a lot of these recruiters. And so it is so important for you as students to learn who we are, the career coaches, because we're that connector point for you and those recruiters. So if you ever need an email address, right, or that connection piece, contact one of us. We're your biggest source for referrals in the College of Business. Other contacts for you guys for referrals are going to be past supervisors. So any part-time work experience that you have, maybe a previous internship that you've been a part of, those supervisors will be great connector points for you for future connections. And the really great thing about those folks is that they have seen you perform firsthand. So they're going to have a positive image of you and the skills that you bring to the table. So they're really going to be able to vouch for you. And then family friends. So I have a lot of students that are like, I mean, my dad has a friend, or my mom works with someone, or I have a family friend that works for this company. Is it okay, or is it right for me to use that because it feels like I'm getting something for nothing? Yes, absolutely utilize family, friends, and contacts. That is the name of the game. You're not giving something for nothing, right? We're going to leverage the contacts that we have. And then ultimately it's up to you with what you do with that golden opportunity, right? You've got to go in there and wow them and show them your value. But absolutely utilize family, friends. Those contacts are super important. All right, so before we take that step in asking for a referral or utilizing one of those referrals, make sure that the people that you're asking for to be a referral, you already have an established relationship with them. I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten an email from a recruiter that says, this student recommended you as a referral for, and I'm like, oh, I probably wouldn't have referred them, right? So letting those folks know, hey, can I use you as a referral, or can I use you as this contact? That's a good thing to do, so they know what's coming down the pipeline beforehand.
Amy, and we did have a question here in the chat
Sure.
asking, how do you recommend we develop a relationship with professors to get those referrals and letters of recommendation with online classes going on?
Tricky, right? So I'm sure that many of those professors are still holding office hours, but by Zoom. Utilize it, okay? Even just because you can't go see them in person, if they're offering you virtual opportunities to connect with them, try to utilize those as often as possible. You know, an email dialogue with professors about, you know, questions that you have about course content, or even inquiring with them about, you know, if you have questions about your career path, and maybe what you're studying is what you're interested in pursuing. A lot of professors are going to have current industry contacts that we as career coaches may not have. They may have completely different contacts that we aren't aware of. So utilizing of both professors and career coaches to find those inroads is really important. You have a lot to connect on as far as what you're learning in class. So that would be my entry point with those professors and striking up those conversations. It's completely okay to be transparent and say, this is my end goal and what I'm trying to do. And I'd like to, you know, ask your advice on who your contacts are and who are the best people that I should connect with. So utilize those online virtual hours. I know they're not the best, but they are there. Awesome. Great question. Thank you. All right. So the next type of work, networking is networking events. So you can all just breathe deeply and let this one go, because we're not going to have these this semester. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. Usually we would do several slides on how to prepare for an in-person networking event. We would talk about what to wear and types of questions that you could prepare, and how to research the guest list and be really particular about who you're going to try to connect with and why. And so when we're doing in-person events again, we'll talk about that more in detail, but more than likely, you might not even have an in-person interview this semester, much less a networking event, because I don't think we can have more than 50 people together outside. So, so take a deep breath. You don't have to do those this time, but they are typically common and really popular as a form of networking. The last one that we'll talk about is social media. And really I'm talking about LinkedIn, right? So we want to make sure that your professional online presence is up to date and that you are utilizing it in an effective way. We'll do an entire professional development series workshop just on LinkedIn. Okay, so I'm not going to do a deep dive of how to set up your profile today or things like that. We're going to talk about different functions of LinkedIn, but there will be a separate workshop just for developing your profile during this semester. So today what I want to talk about is with LinkedIn is how to connect with alumni, to ask for advice, and to set up informational interviews with those alumni. So many companies will ask team members on their recruiting teams if people have reached out to them through LinkedIn. And so that's an additional way that they're seeing how people are going to differentiate themselves by connecting actively on LinkedIn. So that's where this next slide is heading for social media. Oops. All right, so let's talk a little bit about that. All right, so I think that LinkedIn is great. I think that it is very saturated with job postings that aren't relevant to what you're looking for. All right, there's a lot of postings on LinkedIn and they're looking for people with 3 to 5 years of job experience, which as college students, you don't have yet, and that is okay. All right, so we'll talk about where you find those. So I really think that LinkedIn is a great place to utilize for networking, not applying, okay? So a big difference there. We want to use LinkedIn to connect with recent alumni from the Walker College of Business that are working at the companies that you're interested in working for, okay? So the great thing about recent alumni is that they're very sympathetic to where you are as a student. Because if they've graduated in the last 5 years, then they were just in your shoes, right? They were just stressing about their internship or their full-time position and how they were going to grow their own network. So this is a really good time to leverage that sympathy for all of you, is that when you're doing a search between 2015 to 2020 of alumni from the College of Business, okay? And I'm going to try something. We're going to try to I have this linked, hopefully to take me to LinkedIn so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. So everybody bear with me. Hopefully this works. All right. Of course, it's going to ask me to log in. Holy cow. All right. I wonder if I can just do it this way. No. Oh, guys. This is like worst technology nightmare, right? Is it actually going to log me in? Interesting. Okay, guys, bear with me. I'm going to stop. All right. Take a 60-second pause with me, okay? All right, here we go. Let's try it this way because I think it's super important that you guys see this. Okay. All right, so we'll have to stop sharing in a second and then switch back to the presentation. But if we go to LinkedIn and we do a search up here in the search bar and put in Appalachian State University, if you are not currently following App State, you should, okay? Make that a priority. at some point this week to go in LinkedIn and start following App State. So once you get to this page, all right, on the left-hand side, right here on this sidebar, it says alumni, all right? So clicking on alumni, all right. So here's where we're gonna put in our date ranges, okay? 2015 to 2020. All right, so we want the last 5 years of alumni from App State. And then here in this search bar right here, we can put in what company that we're interested in, right? So let's just say Wells Fargo, just for giggles, okay? All right, so here we have Wells Fargo. And you could even, here we go, we could narrow that down to the Wells Fargo in Charlotte, okay? And then we can come down here and bam, look at all of these great alumni that work for Wells Fargo in Charlotte, all right? And it'll tell you the year that they graduated, right? And it's probably gonna tell you here what their major was. So you can see, all right, all those sympathetic alumni that you're gonna try to reach out to, all right? So let's say you wanna work at Wells and you are really interested in investment banking, okay? So my recommendation to you is you message Nathan Wiles here, okay? So he graduated 4 years ago from the Walker College of Business, and you can request an informational interview with Nathan, all right? And we'll talk about what that is. So this works, I mean, for a lot of great companies, but what it does is it gives you people that you automatically have a connection with, right? Someone from App State, someone that graduated from the Walker College of Business, someone that may even have had the same major that you do now. And you can say, Nathan, I'm really interested in working at Wells Fargo one day, and I see that you've worked there for the last couple of years. I would love your advice on what that process looked like. When you ask for someone's advice, you automatically, you make them feel like an expert in that content. It's like, oh, he's asking for my advice. He must think I really know what I'm talking about, right? And they're going to be sympathetic to that, but also people are more likely to offer you advice versus giving, doing you a favor, right? So this is the beginning of starting that relationship so you can ask for the favor later, right? Does that make sense to everybody? And here's the most important part of all of this is that if you don't reach out and connect with them, the answer is no, right? So people are worried about, well, he's not going to want to help me. You don't know unless you ask, and you lose absolutely nothing but 2 minutes of your life, right, from trying to make this connection through LinkedIn. But I bet you that you would be very, very successful in getting someone to respond to you to have a 5-minute conversation on the phone, okay? So that is a really quick how we do that alumni search through LinkedIn. This has been a really great tool and resource for me personally in the past and for students. So, all right, let's see. I'm going to stop share again and then come back to my presentation. Okay. All right. So here we are, informational interviews. All right, so the whole goal of trying to make these connections through LinkedIn, this networking in LinkedIn, is to try to achieve some of these informational interviews. And maybe you're a little freaked out because you're like, I don't want to do an interview, but this is low stakes interview, okay? Because you are interviewing them, they aren't interviewing you, okay? So let's talk a little bit about what those are. So an informational interview is one that you initiate to obtain information from people working in the field. So unlike job interviews, informational interviews are generally informal and very conversational, okay? So this is going to be an opportunity for you to ask specific questions about that career field, to brainstorm your career plans, and to learn more about others' pathways to success. all right? And you want to find other professionals to contact, right? So they are not an opportunity for you to ask for a job or an internship in these informational interviews. We're just gathering information at this point so we can make an informed decision about, is this really a company that I want to pursue? Is this really a job role that I want to pursue? And this is a good way for you to figure that out and start developing that relationship, start that networking process, kind of at the ground level. So a lot of times students are like, they're not going to want to talk to me. Believe it or not, people love talking about themselves, right? And they would feel honored that someone wants to learn more about their career path and how they got there. So, and career exploration is not a time for you to be shy. So make sure, ask friends, family members, former employers, staff, these hopefully connections that you're making in LinkedIn by reaching out. These are the folks that you want to ask for informational interviews, all right? So make sure to include how you obtain that person's contact information too. When you're reaching out for these informational interviews, say, hey, so-and-so said you'd be a good person for me to reach out to, right? So that way they're like, who is this random person emailing me asking for an informational interview, right? All right, so also let them know the length of time that you want to talk. Is this going to take 20 minutes, 30 minutes? You know, if it ends up taking an hour, maybe that's okay. Let the conversation take you there, but try to give them a frame of time that you want to speak to them. So how should you prepare? So before the meeting, make sure that you do your homework. Think about how you envision the conversation and create a list of 5 to 10 open-ended questions that you want to ask them. Clearly, we don't want to ask them yes or no, or that conversation is going to be over really, really quick, right? So open-ended questions are great. Questions can include topics such as the interviewee's career path. So ask them what career path they took, what their daily work activities look like, requesting advice on what that recruitment process looked like for them, company culture, mentoring, sponsorship opportunities. You can talk a little bit about salary, but that can be a sensitive conversation. A lot of people aren't openly going to share how much they make salary wise, but I guess you could ask about salary for that particular role or area. So those are some topics that you can think about as you're developing what types of questions that you want to ask, okay? So, all right, although informational interviews are considered informal, it is important to make sure that you make a great first impression, right? So we're developing a relationship, we're building rapport, so we don't want to show up in our sweats. So I don't think it would necessarily require a suit. And more than likely, these informational interviews are going to be virtual at this point. So we want to look neat and professional, but I don't think that you need to suit up if you are able to land some informational interviews. The Office of Alumni Affairs is a great place to connect on campus. So our alumni office was actually trying to develop some of these opportunities over the summer of alumni that are interested in providing informational interviews for students. So that's another great place for you to check. And then at the end of all this, again, this is a fact-finding kind of mission. Be prepared to learn that you may not want to work for that company and you may not want that career path. And that's okay. You may realize that halfway through the conversation. So we don't want to be rude. We finish our conversation out, be gracious and appreciative of the time that they spent. But it's just like internships. There are a lot of students that do an internship and realize at the end of it, they're like, I don't ever want to do that again in my life, right? So you may find out in an informational interview that that's not the path that you want to take, but that's okay. It saves you a lot of time in the end applying and working in a job that you ended up not wanting after all, right? All right, so that is hopefully what we are aiming for when we make some of those connections on LinkedIn to get some of those informational interviews. All right, so transitioning on to another digital way of networking is Handshake. So Handshake is App State's primary career management system that we have on campus. It's where employers post internships and full-time positions. It's also where employers are posting events and information sessions. Because they can't come to campus, you will see a significant increase in virtual information sessions being available for you to register and attend. I highly recommend. This is a great way to network. I know you're like, it's not in person, but this is as close as we're going to get. So there are an overwhelming amount of these that are available on Handshake right now for you to register for. The recruiters are looking to see who's attending those and collecting those registration lists, and they're gonna continue to reach out to you after you've attended those. So Handshake is really similar to LinkedIn in that it's a great networking platform, but I feel like sometimes it's underutilized on the networking side of things for students. So that might be where, like, you maybe have it flip-flop, right? So maybe you're coming to Handshake to apply for internships and jobs, but you're not really doing any of the other networking pieces that are available in there, right? So I would encourage you to utilize both sides of the coin within Handshake. So first, we want to make sure that you have a really robust profile. Again, just like in LinkedIn, we want to make sure that it is full of keywords. The more keywords that are in your profile on Handshake, the higher it is that you will show up on an employer search based on the keywords and the skills that they are looking for. Making sure you have all of your documents uploaded in Handshake. And by documents, I mean to apply for anything in Handshake, you have to have your resume uploaded and saved in the system. They may ask for cover letters, so any versions of your cover letters that you have those saved and uploaded in Handshake. And many companies will ask for a transcript. You can request for an electronic version of that from the registrar's office and through your AppleNet account, okay? So go ahead and request that. An official copy costs a little bit of money, but you can download an unofficial copy of your transcript through your AppleNet for free. And so having that on hand and saved in Handshake makes things very easy. So it's just taking you a couple clicks to apply for things, okay? So making sure you have your profile uploaded, your docs. Again, this in Handshake, this is all college recruiting. So if you're getting really frustrated in LinkedIn because they're looking for 3 to 5 years of work experience, Handshake is going to be relevant to you as a student. What the things that they're posting in there, they're going to be looking for and understand that you are a student first and foremost. Second, that you may have some part-time work experience, that you may have done an internship in the past, but that is the limit to your experience at this point. So again, I feel like a lot less frustrating kind of on that job search side of things. But I want to make sure that all of you are using the inbox feature in Handshake. So a great place to network. Companies, recruiters are sending active emails through Handshake. It is not spam and they are not robots, okay? These are real people that are sending real emails. And you'll see a significant increase in those inbox messages the weeks leading up to our career fair. So I would expect an increase in those now because companies are going to try to connect with you and engage with you before they're here for the career fair. So if you're not checking your inbox in Handshake, please make sure that you're doing that now. Excuse me. All right. And then lastly, in Handshake, make sure that you're utilizing the company overview pages. So I feel like a lot of times students will go in there and do job searches, but they're not actually clicking into the company pages to do a more in-depth look on that. And that is where you can see where they have all of their jobs or internships posted. But that's also where students will post reviews about their internship and job experiences with those companies. And you can connect with those students to talk to them about what those experiences have looked like. This is networking. Even if it's peer-to-peer, you're networking with someone that has worked in an active position in that company, okay? And then finally, they have the talent acquisition team members' contact information posted on their overview pages. So if you need an email or a way to contact someone that's a recruiter there, those company overview pages are a great place to look for that information. Okay. Any questions about Handshake before we move forward? Okay. All right, so next, let's talk really quickly about how to follow up and follow through. All right, so we'll talk about some ways that you can be creative and how we're going to differentiate ourselves. But the first thing we want to do in that process is making sure that we're organized. Okay, and so the first step I want you to take is to create a spreadsheet of all the positions that you have applied for. That includes the date of when you applied, the contact information of any recruiters that you know of. All right, and the example that's on the screen, I actually found from themuse.com, but Glassdoor also has a great template of a job tracker form that you can download to your device. Okay, so again, we start sending out emails and applications to a bunch of different companies, and then we're like, uh-oh, I don't know what I've applied for and who I've talked to and when should I follow up with them, right? So if we keep this organized and in one place, then we'll have a document to know, okay, these are when I sent these applications out and this is who I need to follow up with. Then you can create a schedule of touch point dates on your calendar to reach out to those recruiters after you've applied and sent out those applications, okay? This is just gonna give you a good frame of reference of, okay, it's been 3 weeks and I haven't heard anything. It's time for me to reach out. All right, so being organized, creating your spreadsheet, and then creating your schedule of touch point dates. All right, next, to follow up, we want to be active on LinkedIn, not so much on the networking side. Yes, we want to do that, but also in posting. All right, so we want you to be active. And so a lot of times students are like, I don't really know what to post on LinkedIn. You know, like for me, I have things that I can post related to career services, you know, events that are happening or tips and tricks that I want to share with either on the employer side or the student side. But for students, I know sometimes that can be difficult. So the first step is to follow the companies that you want to work for. Okay, by following those companies, you'll see the types of things that they're posting about, right? You're going to learn more about that industry. All right. And the easiest way to be active on LinkedIn with very clever posts is to reshare other people's information. Okay. So it doesn't always have to be creative, original information. It could be, oh, I really liked that post. I'm going to reshare that. Okay. Second, let's see here. You can post about current projects that you're working on in your classes. All right, that's relevant to the industry, and it shows about what you're learning academically. So if there's a way that you can post about that in LinkedIn, I think that's a great idea. And then, of course, you're doing a lot. You guys are very, very active in your clubs with different events and things that you're hosting and posting about. Make sure that you're documenting those things that you're doing in your clubs and organizations. Take pictures and then post those things on LinkedIn. If you are involved in a club or organization, it's probably a collegiate chapter of a national chapter, right? So following those, and so we can tag people. But those are really easy ways that you can stay active on LinkedIn to increase your digital presence on social media. So make sure that you alternate your touch points. So as you are creating that schedule of touch points, make sure that it's phone calls, emails, and LinkedIn posts, all right, and alternating among those three things as you're scheduling that. Questions about the tracker or any of that? All right, so this is another creative way for you to follow up, all right? And this is a branded email. So try creating a branded graphic email that tells your story, And so what I have done is I've used a template generator, canva.com. And there are lots of free templates on there. You don't have to pay to have access to some of those, but it's already a template where basically you fill in the information, okay? And this is an example of one that I created if I were a student, what it would look like. And I actually use this when I'm reaching out to companies and recruiters that I want to try to bring to App State to recruit all of you. So this is a way that they can learn a little bit about me and see my picture to kind of get them to bite on the email. So it's not just another text email that they're getting in their inbox, okay? So just to look at this really quickly, on the right-hand side under About Me, that is a section that you can list clubs that you're a part of, positions that you hold, some of your interests and hobbies, maybe certifications or special skills that you have. So again, this is a place that you can highlight some of those unique things about you. And then it has your picture in the bottom. And then on the left-hand side, you'll have your name at the top. And down here, we'll talk about what each of those paragraphs should hold, okay? So this is the email that you want to send to a recruiter after you've applied. You can say, hey, remember me? I applied a couple weeks ago. So this is my way of reaching out to you to stand out, okay? So that first paragraph is going to be thanking them for their time and how you heard about the position. So if you got their contact information through a career coach, reference us. Say, I received your email through Amy Odom, one of the career coaches in business career services in the Walker College of Business. She gave me your contact information to reach out. Okay, that is perfectly okay. And it is, people want to know how their marketing dollars are being spent. So this is a great place for them to know, oh, I paid money to go to that career fair. So that was a good investment because I'm getting a return on that. Or I posted it in LinkedIn or in Handshake. So they can narrow down where they posted that and how that's getting back to them. Second paragraph, we want to talk about your interests, goals, and your experience. Okay, you're really excited about this position. You know, you want to talk about your background and the skills and how those relate to the position that you're applying for. All right, the third paragraph is showing you research the company and finding parallels in what's valuable to you both. All right, so this kind of shows, oh, you've done a little bit of your homework. You at least know about the company and what we do and how your skills may parallel, right? You know what their mission, vision, values is and why is that important to you also. So if you're invested personally in that way, they're gonna be like, wow, they're really interested in this position in our company. And then lastly, down here, you want to talk, again, showing gratitude for their time, including your signature and your contact information so they know how to get in touch with you. And of course, at the bottom in your signature, you can put your major and when you graduate, again, key pieces of information that they're going to know as a recruiter. Any questions about the branded email?
What software did you make that in?
It's called Canva. Canva.com, Canva.com. And it's, if you aren't familiar with Canva, it has changed my life. It is an amazing marketing platform where you can go in, you don't have to be creative. They do that for you in kind of laying out these templates, these graphic templates. Basically, you just put the information in where you need to. So after the presentation, I'm going to share this with everyone, and I'll be sure to include the link to Canva in that as well.
I feel like that's awesome. I feel like we can make that in like Photoshop or InDesign or something. So that's a good idea. Definitely. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then there was also a question in the chat from Hannah, and she asked, how are we able to send that email as an actual email instead of as an attached PDF?
So you can download, create this and then save it as a PNG or a JPEG. And then you can insert that image into the body of your email. And I'm happy to give kind of step-by-step on how to do that as well. That's unclear, but that's how I navigate around that. so that you can insert that image in the body of the email.
I have a follow-up to that question, Amy.
Sure.
So when you're inserting it as a PNG or JPEG, do you delete your automatic Google signature, or so it doesn't have your signature in the image and then again at the bottom, or do you just leave it there? What's your process with that?
I just leave it there. So in the event, so here's what I would do. I would insert it as an image, leave your signature, and also attach this as an attachment to the email in the event that the image is broken when they receive it, okay? So your hope is that it comes in the email body, but if it doesn't, then you're gonna make sure that they receive that message one way or the other as an attachment as well. Yeah, great question. Anything else? Okay, awesome. Let's keep going. Okay, so the last kind of unique way that we are sharing that students can kind of set themselves apart are these video handshakes or video intros. All right, so this is a really easy way for you to kind of video and share your personal message or your elevator pitch. And you can upload these to LinkedIn or attach them in your emails to recruiters as you're following up. But this really assists the recruiter in being able to evaluate some key things about you. Your communication skills, some of your soft skills, your public speaking abilities, and ultimately it really humanizes you as a candidate. And I know no one likes being on video, sorry. But it is, again, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for recruiters to connect with us in special and additional ways, right? Because they can't be and see and hear us in person. And so if we can give them an example of that in a video, then that's easy for us to do. All right, and there is a way that you can upload these to LinkedIn to your profile. So there's a video there for you. I'm gonna try to show you this video. Again, bear with me if it doesn't work, then we'll have to unshare and kind of regroup. All right, but let's see if we can get this to work, because it's like a 2-minute video on how to create that in LinkedIn, okay? Fingers crossed. There's no inappropriate commercial at the beginning either.
Wait, are we supposed to?
We still see the slideshow, Amy.
What's that?
We still see the slideshow.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Bear with me. Let's see here.
LinkedIn operates the world's largest professional network.
Let's try this again. You guys are my guinea pig today. That's okay. Thanks for bearing with me. All right, here we go. Let's try it this way. Can you all see that?
Yep.
On the more than 347 billion members in over 200 countries and territories. Professionals that sign up to join LinkedIn are officially 2 million minutes per second. Employees are sharing journalists to Joseph to be business. We can have a business that has a LinkedIn profile or share the email from this
Hey, Amy, I think the sound is coming through your speaker and not your computer.
Yes, because the video is not that good and there's almost no audio.
Okay, awesome. All right, so abort mission.
Abort.
No sense in making you guys suffer through a horrible video.
Oh, no worries. You can always just launch the link for it in the chat.
So here, yeah, I'll make sure that you all get a link to this after after this is over, so you can watch that. Again, it's a 2-minute just instructional video on how to upload those to your LinkedIn profile. So if we were in person doing this, I would have just showed it on the screen. So there you go. Now we know. Let's see. All right, so those are a couple of kind of creative ways that you can follow up with recruiters this semester, but I did want to end on giving you a couple of pointers about online etiquette. So I imagine that your classes are meeting virtually. You're probably, any interviews that you have this semester will be virtual and online. And so here are just some really easy tips for you to follow on what that looks like. So the first, of course, preparing your space and your background. Keep your background clean and organized, or even using a virtual background is great. Some platforms allow that feature where you can have one of those if your computer is compatible for that. But setting up a designated workspace to create a productive work environment is really, really important. So just encourage you, if you don't have that already, to create that. Next, making sure that you're muted and having a proper camera angle. So distractions are everywhere at home. Right now, at this moment, I have 2 dogs, a husband, and a 9-year-old in the house. And so I'm navigating a very fine line here of distractions that could pop in my room at any minute. And so, but using the mute feature upon arrival to a meeting to ensure barking dogs or unruly roommates, to eliminate that, make sure they don't steal the show at your next interaction that you have together. Refrain from meeting in your bed, all right? So that's some pretty unattractive angles when having your laptop in your lap on the bed. And then of course there's pillows and covers. And so we wanna try to exude professionalism. So making sure we've got a great camera angle on that. Limiting eating and drinking on camera. So turn off your camera when eating during a meeting, or try to time your snacks before or after, and also consider using a straw. So I have this here. So that way you don't see the bottom of my cup every time I take a sip. So I can like kind of take a drink and then put that to the side. And then consider logos and language that are on your cups. So I've seen some pretty funny things. Could be a good conversation starter or not, depending on what's on the cup. So something to think about. Next, be present and speak up. So if you are looking down at your desk or even at another monitor off and to the side, which I do sometimes for notes, it may look like you're not fully invested or paying attention, right? And also remember there's usually, or could be, a 2 to 3 second delay between you and others in the meeting. And so after you speak, wait for a response, and also make sure to speak up so other attendees can hear you. And then last but not least, we want to make sure that we dress appropriately. I've seen some really funny pictures of like suit on the top and, pajama bottoms on the bottom, which is totally fine. Let's just be like super professional from the waist up, right? Just make sure if there's an emergency where you have to get up and leave, they don't see the bottom part, right? So I know that working or attending school from home is really awesome because we get to do that pretty comfortably. And we have done some polling with recruiters and asking them what their dress expectations are of you during the career fair. And they do not expect a full suit, but they do expect professional dress. So if we can at least muster the jacket and the suit, or the nice, the nice professional top, let's try to make sure that that happens during these professional online interactions with other people. Any questions about Netiquette? All right. I'm going to stop sharing. Awesome. Well, guys, do you have any questions about any of that? Okay. Well, thank you all for bearing with me in some of my technical challenges tonight and seeing what we can and can't do in a Zoom room together. So appreciate your patience and hope that you got some interesting information from this that you can utilize for yourself in trying to really stand out this semester in your networking attempts with recruiters and those talent acquisition folks. So make an appointment with me if you have more questions or you want to do a career coaching appointment. Those are available through Handshake. And it would be based on what your major is, who you would be available to meet with. So thanks so much, everybody, and I hope that you all have a wonderful night.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Amy, I had some people messaging me asking if we're going to share the recording.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
We
And
will.